All the guys on the race bikes are talking about the bumps, but they won't worry you.
No, you don't seem to even notice them on these bikes. They've got so much suspension travel. They're just so well suited for this sort of circuit.
So another chance to have a look at the Super Motard, the coming class in New Zealand motorcycling. Well, I think anyway, and I'm sure Paul Pavlidis agrees with me. And once again, another chance to look at the back-it-in style of Stephen Briggs on the 8 KTM.
Yeah, he's definitely a crowd favourite. We're going to call him the babyface assassin because he's probably late 20s, but he looks like he's about 18.
Well, I'll tell you what, looks can be deceiving, but you got the assassin part right because he really knows how to ride the wheels of this factory-back KTM 600.
And he is a master at sliding that back wheel, and really quite completely different styles from Flood on the Honda 650.
Well, Paul Jed is moving up into second place now. Ex-road racer, been on the Super Motards for a season and a half. But there is Stephen Briggs down through the gears, and look at that, as sideways as you like.
He actually went in too hot then, he ran a little bit wide, and that's given Flood a sniff. Now we'll see some action.
Well, it was Craig Flood that was the dominant rider at Wanganui in our first round of the Battle of the Streets. This is the second round here on the streets of Paeroa. Fantastic for a small town like Paeroa, and the Auckland Motorcycle Club mooted the idea 13 years ago now. They took it with open arms, and it really has become one of the biggest motorcycling events in New Zealand. There's no doubt about that, is there, Paul?
No, absolutely. It's in its 13th year now, so it's really starting to get a bit of history. Chris Costello, the president of the Auckland Motorcycle Club, is 100% in behind it. It's all good news.
So Craig Flood has moved up into second place as we watch them disappear in front of the big crowd here.
I think Briggs is more in tune with showing off at the moment than winning this race.
He certainly puts on a show through the Pirelli hairpin. There they are, coming down the front straight now, under the Yamaha banner and past the start-finish line. 8, Stephen Briggs, has been a standout in junior motocross, in speedway circles, in road racing. He's competed against the very best in Grand Prix motorcycling on the BSL, of course, but he's found his home here on the Super Motard because all his skills have combined to make him one of the best riders in New Zealand.
Well, I actually rate Stephen Briggs as one of the very, very best road racers in New Zealand, the top 3 in fact. That's how good Stephen Briggs is.
There is Paul G, currently in third place. Up ahead of him, it's another Honda, and that's the Energy Honda. Meets the tyre-sponsored rider from New Plymouth, and that is Craig Flood. Adrian Fryer from Gisborne just flashed past there on the 4-stroke Yamaha. But look at this man out on the front. He can do no wrong for the moment. Flood, though, well, Paul, he's closing the gap.
He is. He's like a workman. He's just chipping away at it. He's taking really good road race lines. He's got a great motorbike, and he's doing a good job. Oh, puff of smoke. What's that? That looks a bit ominous.
Well, I wonder if that was coming from the exhaust or maybe from a breather. We'll keep an eye on that at the moment.
The last thing you want is oil on your back tyre on a circuit like this. Let's keep a close eye on it.
Oh, and watch the different lines there. Stephen Briggs looks to be content to back the KTM into the turns, but Flood using the typical road racing line, and he gobbled up a lot of time then.
Yeah, I think Stephen Briggs is just having fun. Look at that, just incredible.
Well, we've seen Valentino Rossi do it on a MotoGP bike. We saw Stephen Briggs do it across the railway lines at Wanganui, and we're watching him do it here at Paeroa as well. But don't discount the number 95. That is Craig Flood from New Plymouth on the Energy Honda, the XR650. Look at Briggs.
I wonder if Flood's getting mesmerised just watching that back wheel. Also, look, does he know his bike's smoking? I hope it's not leaking oil.
Oh, I don't know if it's got that much worse from the previous lap, and it's still in there. And boy, it's more than just in there because he closes up the gap once again. There is the different line, and it works for Craig Flood. He closes the gap down on the works back KTM of Stephen Briggs as they rocket up this back straight.
The crowd love him. They race to the hay bales to watch. Look at that, full lock. Just brilliant. It's starting to chatter. He's running a little bit wide. There he goes, the drag race.
Down the inside, I think he might have it as they work their way down towards the flag position now. 95, Craig Flood. Has he got the wheel in front? No, he hasn't. Briggs comes back at him. 1 lap to go. This is going to be unbelievable.
The KTM just snipped past. It must have about half a horsepower more, and Briggs weighs nothing.
Stephen Briggs in the front. Here comes Craig Flood, though, up and over the top. Watch the different line. You'll see it once again. Briggs will back it in. Flood will go for the inside run this time. Will he get it? Yes, he will. He gets the nose in front. Who's got the throttle control? Who's got the jet out of the turn? It's the Honda of Flood. 1 lap to go. Less than that. Half a lap to go now, and Craig Flood's got the Honda in the front.
Briggs has taken a high, wide line now. He's going to get a good drive and try and slipstream down the front straight and nab him on, mug him, in fact, on the finish line. line.
Well, it doesn't quite work for him. Flood gets a nice tight line out of the hairpin, and he'll see the checkered flag first. So Craig Flood starts where he left off from Wanganui and takes the first of the Super Motard races, brought to you by the Paeroa Hotel. In second place, it will be Stephen Briggs. Third place, bike number 65 across the line is Paulie G. And in fourth place, it's Brendan Stevenson. Behind him, Chris Sales. And behind him, Brendan Code. No doubt about it, one of the features of the Battle of the Streets at Paeroa is the Robert Holden Memorial. Now, we saw the new format at Wanganui in the cemetery circuit, 3 5-lap races, and that's what they're going to do here as well. And this is race number 1, and out in the front goes Brian Bernard, but right in behind him, Paul Pavlidis, I suggest to you the man that could spoil the party for Brian Bernard, and that is Jason McEwen.
Number 12, Jason McEwen. Now remember, he's previously been the champion, king of the streets, so Bernard, you better watch out because the man's in pursuit.
Well, the other thing we should tell you is that there are both the production superbikes and the 600 bikes here, and they will be scored separately, so really 2 races within one. So watch for the likes of Craig Sheriffs and Jared Love to come through this big field. At the moment, though, it is the 1000 Suzukis ruling the roost here. Bike number 2, Bernard in the front, then it's 12, McEwen. Then we go back to 6, Dennis Charlotte. He'll be on his 1000cc machine, and the next one through, I think it would have been Chris Haldane on the Ducati. Just got a glimpse of the red as they come up over the top and work their way into the Suzuki S-Bend.
Well, Dennis Charlotte's renowned for his fast starting, but today he hasn't done so well, and you could see he was doing everything he could then to make up a bit of ground. The thing was chattering and going in sideways into the corner.
So remember, this is basically a sprint. In fact, it's basically 3 sprints, because what we'll do at the end of this 5 laps, we'll shuffle the grid and they'll go again for another 5. Then they'll shuffle the grid again and they'll go again for another 5. At Wanganui, well, it was a bit of a surprise, a turn-up if you like, because Johan Bruns was the man that came out on top. He's in the field, but he's on a 600. The 600s are a little wee bit quicker, but there's nothing in it, because I've just been told that Jared Love has dipped under the 47-second mark, and that's as quick as some of the thousands. So this could be a close race, Paul.
It certainly will. And McEwen, he's on the charge. He's done the fastest lap so far at a 46 flat.
Bike number 6 on your screen is Dennis Charlotte. Originally from the South Island, as Paul told you, an ex-125 national champion road racer here in New Zealand. Moved on through to the production bikes, the 600s for a season, and now on the 1000s. And he's chasing his teammate, but he's got a couple ahead of him.
You've got to be so careful too. You see the white cement dust on the track. That's soaking up a bit of oil where a bike's crashed and maybe split a side cover or something. You don't want to be running over the top of it. It's really slippery.
So this is the battle for the front of the field. Bernard in the front, McEwen chasing him hard. And how hard is Jason McEwen riding? Watching the braking area. The back wheel comes off the ground. That time it was Bernard. So he is really on 10 tenths at the moment. This is the closing stages of the first heat of 5. They'll stay on the grid. They'll reshuffle and then they'll come back. We said the 600s would be a feature. They are, because I just got a glimpse of Craig Sheriffs, and I think he's at about 5th place. Bernard round the Pirelli hairpin. McEwen dogging him all the way. Down towards the flag they come. Number 2 on the Suzuki. 1 lap to go. Bernard. McEwen tucked up under the back of the bike. Then we go back to Charlotte. Then it's 66, and that is Haldane. And then it is Craig Sheriffs on the 600. What a ride he's having.
This is a scary moment for Bernard, because he knows McEwen's hot in pursuit, and he's the last man you want behind you, because he'll have a crack at you anywhere, particularly if it's the last lap. He's fearless.
So the back straight for the last time in the first heat of the triple threat, if you like, the Robert Holden Memorial. 3 by 5 laps. This is the closing stages of the first one. Bernard on the Suzuki. What a days he's had. I don't think he's ever finished below first place. He's won everything he started in. He's going to win this one. He will take out heat number 1 of the Robert Holden Memorial. They will regroup on the start line. In second place it will be Jason McEwen, his best showing in the Battle of the Streets. In third it was Dennis Charlotte. 4th place Chris Haldane. 5th Lance Lowe. And in 6th John Falwell. And the 600s, of course, it was Craig Sheriffs, Jared Love, Johan Bruns, Craig Gollop, Derek McAdam and Terry Fitzgerald. This is round number 2, another 5 laps. It's quick fire, and you've got to say, Paul, after the reaction at Wanganui, well, there's mixed reactions to this. A little bit different. They're trying to spice it up a little bit, but it's hard on the riders.
Yeah, I don't think it's that popular with the riders. It's they prefer the 10, 15 lappers. Wow, look at that. Charlotte actually got the charge to the first corner, but Brian Bernard, cool as a cucumber, up the inside, move out of the way, team manager in charge.
Well, 23 years of racing experience under the helmet of Brian Bernard. He's raced internationally in the USA, in Australia, and of course all over New Zealand. Just about everything he started in a series or a championship, he's won it or come close, and he's giving you a display here at Paeroa. His teammate right in behind him, that is Dennis Charlotte, then it's Jason McEwen, and then I think it may be one of the 600s, and I got a feeling that may be Craig Gollop. Will get a good look as they come a little bit closer, and keep an eye out there for number 66. That is Johan Bruns. He took it all the way in Wanganui. He hasn't quite had the banner day that he had at Wanganui here at Paeroa, but he is still in with a chance. Remember, 600s and 1000s, they're scored separately, so he's still in with a sniff of this.
Well, I'm really impressed with Dennis Charlotte. He's got a history of 125 single-cylinder two-stroke bikes. You couldn't get a bigger extreme to 1000 Suzuki, and he's doing a great job.
Oh, we've seen it so many times today. Brian Bernard on the Bernard Racing Pirelli Suzuki starting to pull away. Has a sneaky look behind him just to see where the teammate is. There he is, and he hasn't got it all his own way now because Jason McEwen on the Phil Turnbull motorcycle Suzuki has closed it up, tries to dive down the inside as they head into the farthest tavern turn, gets a little bit closer, but I think Charlotte saw it coming, Paul.
He certainly did. Now look at these bikes too. They cranked them into second, third gear, and the wheels just climb in the air, and they're doing 200 kilometres an hour.
So we focus on this battle for second and third. You saw the difference in the lines in the Super Motard race, made all the difference, but these guys, well, they're content just to follow each other for the moment. Bernard out on the front, into the Pirelli hairpin he comes. McEwen's got through into second, right around the outside. What a race!
Yeah, Charlotte took the tight line. It was a slower line. McEwen went high and wide and drove out.
Remember, Brian Bernard won Heat 1 of 3 for the Robert Holden Memorial. He's on his way to victory in Heat 2. But now, well, if McEwen has cleared Charlotte, has he got time, other laps left for him to catch Brian Bernard?
Well, Brian Bernard's smooth under pressure. He won't crack.
But already the daylight opens up between McEwen and Dennis Charlotte. Charlotte still sits in third place. There he is, bike number 6, the GSXR 1000 Suzuki, the Bernard Racing team machine. In front of him, his boss, his team mechanic, his coach, his mentor, that is Brian Bernard. And look at Jason McEwen eating up the ground between himself and Brian Bernard. But maybe it's going to be too little, too late.
Bernard's responding. He's just cracked a 45.7. That's the fastest lap today. It's not far off Tony Reese's outright lap record.
And once again, you get a glimpse of bike number 1, and this is Craig Sheriff's best of the 600s. Just in behind him, it looks like it's Lance Lowe on the 1000cc machine. Remember, 2 races within 1 here. What a ride this man is having. What a day Craig Sheriff's is having.
More cameras, please. The 600 race is just as exciting, but we can't see both.
So Sheriff's leads the 600s, 66. This is Chris Haldane, and he's had some problems, and he's back through the field a bit here. This man, no problems at all. He's going to make it 2 for 2 in the Robert Holden Memorial. Into the Pirelli turn for the last time goes Brian Bernard. The big victory wheelie is popped under the Yamaha banner, and Bernard spoils Yamaha's day by making it 2 for 2 for Suzuki in the Robert Holden. Then it's Jason McEwen, then it is Dennis Charlotte. Behind Charlotte, it was Lance Lowe, Peter Tanner, John Falwell, Tony Campbell and Chris Haldane cruising in 8th place, whilst in the 600 race, and what a race it was, Craig Sheriff takes the win from Jared Love, Craig Gollop and the veteran Terry Fitzgerald. Third and final heat of the Robert Holden, and somebody not ready to go. And Paul, you were saying that some of these guys are a little bit upset that they've been held on the line so long.
Yeah, the engines start getting really hot and they start boiling and you get blown head gaskets and it all turns to custard.
So away we go. Now watch for bike number 2. This time he starts up on the outside row. Will he lead them into the first turn? I think he will. Brian Bernard it is, does the job. Jared Love's got a good start on the 600 as well. And watch for Jason McEwen. And what about the start from John Falwell on the 138? He started off the front row, but he's really making inroads there on Bernard as they work their way through the S-turn up onto the back straight here, this 1.8 kilometre track. Remember, this is the final stanza, if you like, of the Robert Holden Memorial for the final race in the Battle of the Streets. It's coming to you from Paeroa. It's brought to you by Yamaha, but it has been a Suzuki day.
Here he comes, the hard man McEwen, forcing his way through, elbows and all.
So the battle for the front continues. Bernard has won the first heat. He won the second one. Now we're into heat number 3, and he's got a bit of attention.
This is a trick. Whoa, big big slide there by Falwell, right round, managed to keep it under control though. Good job.
But that'll open up a few gaps, and that's good news for the leaders. Down through the S-turn they come once more. Suzuki on Suzuki. Phil Turnbull Motorcycles sponsoring Jason McEwen. Out ahead of him, it is the boss, the team leader, the mechanic, the mentor, the coach, and the yellow flags are flying. So we've had an incident, and there it is, and that's number 99, Lance Lowe, by the look of it. And I think this race is going to be stopped, Paul. Yes, the red flag comes out, so that means that the final heat of the Robert Holden Memorial will not go ahead for the moment anyway. Well, this will be interesting.
So what is this going to do with your points about winning the Robert Holden? It's over 2 rounds, Wanganui and today. You won 2, Johan won 3 at Wanganui. They might give you the third one, so what happened?
I don't know. I would say Johan did it. I had a bit of bad luck at Wanganui, and Johan rode brilliantly at Wanganui. So, you know, I'd say he'd have it outright, and good on him. He's rode very well.
Johan, well, points-wise, you reckon you've done it?
Well, if they can it, which I think they have done now, I think so. I'd like to talk to the officials and see what happened, but I hope so.
What does it feel like, winning the biggest race of the year?
No, it's good, eh? I need to find out first, see if I'm not 100% sure if it's done yet. So as soon as we find out, then I'll be happy.
So after 5 heats of a possible 6 for the Robert Holden Memorial, 3 in Wanganui, 2 here in Paeroa, it is Johan Bruns from the Wellington Motorcycle Centre that takes out the trophy on 98 points. In second place, Auckland's Lance Lowe, and in third place, Terry Fitzgerald. This is race number 2 for Formula Street, brought to you by Suzuki New Zealand. And if you cast your mind back, the first race was a beauty. It was Jared Love and Craig Sheriffs. Is it going to be that way again? It's Craig Gollop that's got the best of the starts as they bank into the right-hand first turn.
Well, that's a Yamaha out front. An R6 doing the business. It's been Suzuki's day up until now.
Jared Love looks like he'll slot into second place on the Pirelli-sponsored machine. And in third place, I think it'll be Craig Sheriffs. Just got a glimpse of him. They disappear down the back straight and into the Pirelli first turn once again. And are we going to see a leader change?
Whoa!
Oh, the Yamaha and the Suzuki get together, and Craig Gollop comes off second best.
Where's your manners? Jared Love, get out of the way. I'm coming through.
So Jared Love takes the front running position. Craig Sheriff's in second place. Then it is number 15, Dennis Charlotte, on the 600 this time. And behind him it is Craig Gollop. Well, Gollop's been around a while, Paul, so he won't let that faze him too much, I wouldn't imagine.
No, I just think he's going to get mad. Look out. Jared Love's doing a fine job. Remember we mentioned before he took a huge hit here a couple of years ago. And look at the measure of the bloke. He's leading the race after that.
Well, that hit really put paid to probably 2 seasons of his road racing career. But great to see that he's back and bigger than better than ever. There he is on the 69. 1, Sheriffs tries to dive down the inside, tries to go for the late braking move. Then it is Charlotte. Then it is Gollop. And then I think you might just got a glimpse of the number 66, and that is Johan Bruns. And, of course, he is the new Robert Holden Memorial Trophy holder for the Battle of the Streets this season.
I don't think he would have stopped smiling for about 2 weeks after Wanganui, Phil.
Well, he certainly was. Well, he was surprised and he was elated. There's no doubt about it. He put on such a performance in the gloom and doom of Wanganui in the overcast conditions. We got brilliant sunshine here at Paeroa, as you've said, Paul, as we've had ever since the inception of the race. And Johan, well, he's been found wanting a little.
Well, this is a very fast circuit, quite different really from Wanganui. Wanganui, stop, go, squirt out of the corners. This is a really fast circuit in comparison, so it's quite a different technique.
And using that technique to the best of his ability is Craig Sheriffs as he closes up the gaps once again. And you can see how fast the front two are going, because Dennis Charlotte is just starting to get gapped a little as they go flashing past the shop windows here at well over 200 kilometres an hour.
There he goes. Up the inside. Don't do it, son. Unbelievable. That's incredible bravery. Did you see that? Right round the outside.
Well, he would have passed probably going over the top of that hill in a blind situation. He wouldn't have known what was in front of him, but it's worked for Craig Sheriffs as he goes through the S-turn and heads down the back straight for the first time in this race. 6 laps to decide it. He is in the front. Now, what can Jared Love do? He won't know when to give up.
That's sheer bravery, Phil. That's off camber too. Blind over the hill, off camber.
You know, your predictions come true, Paul. You said that Dennis Charlotte to get back into this, and he is. Okay, the telephoto lens and our cameras may be doesn't give you a graphic example of the distance, but the gap is closing, let me tell you. And while it's closing for second and third, it's starting to open now for first and second. So maybe, Paul Pavletics, maybe, just maybe, that Jared Love was slowing Craig Sheriff's a little bit.
He could have been. I tell you what, though, there's a lot of prestige, too, to be the top Suzuki rider. You know, they're not going to give free bikes to the guys finishing third and fourth. You want to win. You want to be the top guy. So there's a lot at stake here.
Well, he rides the number 1 plate. He is the National 600 Sports Production Champion, and he'd love to do it again, I'm sure. And Jared Love makes a mistake, and that's allowed Dennis Charlotte back into this race, Paul Pavletics.
Yep, he just had to wait that split second, and he pounced on him. You can't make a mistake at this level. It's too competitive, and Jared will be very, very angry at himself.
Well, he's close enough to challenge once again. This is where the pass came in the previous lap for first. What can Love do this time on Dennis Charlotte? Over the top of the hill they come. This is the battle for second and third. Dennis Charlotte in second. Jared Love in third. This man in the front of the field. Through the S-turns he goes. Down past this huge crowd at Paeroa, basking in the sunshine, basking in the glory of fantastic motorcycling, as it has been for 13 long years now. Here is the battle for second. Love's just not quite close enough, I don't think, Paul.
No, I think you're right. He's got to get within about 3 or 4 bike lengths to get a good slipstream. Sheriff's just put the fastest lap in, a 46.8.
And he's done it on the last lap, so Craig Sheriffs takes the win. In second place it will be Dennis Charlotte, and in third place Jared Love. Best of the Yamahas is Craig Gollop in fourth, and in fifth place it's Johan Bruns on yet another Suzuki.
Craig, you had to work for that one.
Yep, it was bloody hard race. It was good though. We're going a little bit quicker than we were this morning. Jared's going good with us. Just a couple of key areas where I was a little bit quicker, and I thought if I can just get in front of him, I'll be able to get away a little bit. And basically that's what happened. And teammate Dennis got past him as well. Basically if Dennis hadn't passed him, me and Jared would have been tied at the end of the day, but because Dennis passed him, it'll give me the overall win for the day.
Second race for the sidecars, brought to you by the Rock FM, and just waiting for last minute instructions from the starter. They'll get the green flag very shortly. In race number 1 it was Phil Law and Angus Ravenswood on the Honda machine that took out the win. Will they do it again, Paul Pavletics?
They could do. I think the Lawrence boys here are going to have a good showing in this one. I just feel they're on the charge.
So Chris and Richard Lawrence, who we ride with here, taking these fantastic onboard shots as they come up and over the top of this small hill and then down into the backside of the Hacksaw circuit, into this S-turn. And watch how close these guys get to the safety bales.
It's just mesmerising, isn't it? Just flowing through here. It's really just, I love this. I could watch it for hours.
One of the hallmarks of street circuits in New Zealand is the unpredictability about it. And what about that bump? What about the fastest part of the back straight? Just going through the Woolworths turn and now heading down into the hairpin, and they'll be out onto Belmont Street now. So you're riding with Phil and Richard Lawrence.
That motor's revving to about 13,000 revs, a little Yamaha 600. Listen to it scream.
Flashing past the shop front windows at close to 200 kilometres an hour into the Father's Tavern turn they come, and up and over the top they go. This is the battle happening just ahead of them at the moment. Paul Tier there in the 38, and right with them at the moment, number 5, Craig McGregor and Ed Rayleigh. So a reversal of what we saw in race number 1. Out on the front, though, no mistake there. Number 13, Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood. We're back on board with the Lawrence brothers as they work their way up Marshall Street, heading into the Woolworths turn. There it is. It just flashes past.
It tightens right up too onto the front straight.
So the race leader on your screen at the moment, Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood on the Honda. Look at the scrap going on for the miners, although maybe some problems there for Craig McGregor and Ed Rayleigh, just starting to drop through the field a wee bit. They'll be falling into the clutches of the Lawrence brothers very shortly, the Aucklanders. And just up ahead of them, problems there for Jerry Frith and Paul Tier, but also problems for McGregor and Rayleigh, so the positions stay exactly the same. Frith and Tier through in second place. Then it's McGregor and Rayleigh, but here comes Chris and Richard Lawrence on their 600 rig, remember. They pay a lot in the handicap of horsepower, although the bike is lighter, and I would suggest to you, Paul, that it handles a little bit better.
Oh, it surely does handle good. It's magnificent handling bike compared to some of these other local rigs. Here he goes up the inside. Easy.
Well, maybe some problems there for McGregor and Rayleigh, because they really did dominate the sidecar action at Wanganui in the first round of the Battle of the Streets. But this is another day to race. This is second round of the Battle of the Streets, coming to you from the main street of Paeroa as we flash down past the shop windows. You're on board here with Chris and Richard Lawrence. They're currently in third place. Ahead of them is number 38. This is Jerry Frith and Paul Tier. And out in the front, as they were in race number 1, is Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood. Round the S as they go.
Just starting to struggle a little bit on the 600. They're just not quite having the top end down that massive straight. The big 1100s are just getting away from them.
Well, you just got a graphic example of the different lines being taken there. Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood just dived down on the inside. Then it was Jerry Frith and Paul Tier. They came out wide, and the Lawrences were even wider. And I can see by the look of it that McGregor and Rayleigh have got going again, have they? But they're a long way off the pace. Back on board with the Lawrences. Same place, same drop. Watch for them as they work their way into the turn, and they've got it wrong. They spin the machine, or do they? They gather it back up right at the feet of the huge spectator crowd here at Paeroa. Exciting stuff. Brilliant onboard pictures coming to you from the Lawrence brothers of Auckland, but I'm sure they've thrown away any chance of getting back third place.
Phil, if you're the passenger or the swinger, how much trust do you have to have in the pilot?
Well, I think you just shut your eyes and hold on there.
Help!
Race leader coming down, 1 lap to go, and it's going to take a disaster for Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood not to win this one. Back on board with the Lawrences now. Here is a test of confidence. Are they going to slow it down a bit, or are they going to attack it? Coming into the farthest tavern turn. This is where they made the mistake in the previous lap. That engine is absolutely singing as the race leaders work their way through the S-turn for the last time. Just in behind them, Gavin Cameron and Bruce Morrissey. They're a lap down, so things haven't gone well for them.
Look at the crowd. They just love these sidecars.
Back on board with the Lawrences here as we work through this S-turn for the very last time for them. Just get a listen to that engine.
That's music.
Well, it won't be music, but it'll be good news all around for number 13, Phil Law and Angus Ravenwood. They make it 2 for 2 with the invitation still to come. Can they make it a clean sweep here at Paeroa? Second place will be Frith and Tier, and in third place it will be the Lawrence boys from Auckland giving us those fantastic pictures. In fourth it was Stu and Darren Prentice. Well, maybe we've saved the best for last. This is the Yamaha sponsored Formula Paeroa. Once again it'll be a clash of the Titans. Brian Bernard is in there, Dennis Charlotte is there, so too Lance Lowe, and once again a great start from John Forwell on the white fairing Suzuki back there in fourth place as they head up over the top for the first of 10. Charlotte in the front.
Charlotte's dipped into his box of tricks and he's back to those demon starts.
Well, you know, they both run for the Brian Bernard racing team, so wonder if there'll be any team orders here. I'm sure Brian will be looking to clinch the Formula Paeroa title if he can, but I think he needs Dennis to move over for him, but I don't think you're going to see that.
No way. These guys are pretty competitive. They share the same tent and they probably travel in the same truck, so there's no way.
Well, essentially, Brian is Dennis's boss because he has run the team.
Dennis will be asking for forgiveness, not permission to win.
But it is Charlotte in the front at the moment. Originally a South Islander, now living up here in the North Island, riding Suzuki's. Has a quick look behind him, but there's Brian Bernard, but we can tell him there's no one there. So it's a 2-horse race as they work their way through the S-turn out onto the back straight here once again on the original Hacksaw circuit at Paeroa. The final round of the Battle of the Streets, the final stanza in what has been a fantastic day, and the Suzukis are in the front again.
Well, it's formation flying, isn't it? 240, 250 kilometres an hour down the long front straight. Look at them just power standing under just so much horsepower.
Dennis Charlotte, probably one of the fittest riders on the circuit, does a little bit of kickboxing, a lot of mountain bike riding to keep fit. Behind him, well now in front of him, the veteran, 23 years in the trade, sitting astride a motorcycle, that is Brian Bernard, but Charlotte takes it back.
You said in the trade, and that's dead right, Phil. Brian Bernard's a tradesman, never puts a foot wrong. Look at him, picture perfect style, power on early.
Well, I'm sure there wouldn't be an advantage in the bikes. Both of them Pirelli shod, Olin suspended, and of course from the Bernard Racing stable. Look at this. What a battle they're putting on. What a display for the big crowd here at Paeroa. Dennis Charlotte, Brian Bernard. Forget about third. I think it's Lance Lowe. There he is. We just got a glimpse of him.
Lance Lowe, the wheelie king. Is that Jason McEwen coming through the field?
Well, he's got a bit of work to do, but it's a long race, this one. It's scheduled to go over 10. Most of these races have been the sprint races, so maybe he is going to start to charge.
All I can say is look out. Jason McEwen is on the charge. He must have stalled on the start or something. He's never that far back.
99, Lance Lowe had his best results in the Battle of the Streets of Wanganui on Boxing Day. Really responded to the overcast conditions and came away with a fine placing in the Robert Holden Memorial. And he's doing that again here in this Yamaha-sponsored Formula Paeroa. Last race on the program. There is Jason McEwen.
Phil, he's just put in the fastest lap, 46.4. He's really flying.
Well, I think that's one of the fastest laps we've seen all day, so Jason McEwen is saving his best for last. Got a couple of pretty good charges in front of him, though. Number 138, haven't mentioned him too often. This is John Falwell on yet another Suzuki, back in 4th place. The front two go through, and look at the distance. They're the best part, I would think, 1, maybe 2 seconds in front at the moment.
I'd say that Jason's got the red haze on. We're going to see some fireworks.
Well, it is unaccustomed if he's going to finish an event to see him further back than 5th. He really has got a fantastic win-loss record. He's had a bit of a checkered career, but now back to his best. And how about that? Both wheels off the ground. I think that was going to be a wheelie, but it ended up looking like a motocross jump.
He's a man on a mission. Look out, Falwell. Here he comes.
Well, John Falwell will just about feel the hot breath on his shoulder as McEwen dives down the inside. Can he make the pass stick side by side? Further down through the field, number 21 there. This is Grant Russell, and he's having his own battle there with number 38, and that is Sam Barling. Meantime, at the front of the field, it's still the Suzuki's in the lead. Here comes the race leader, and it is Dennis Charlotte. Number 2, Brian Bernard. Well, I wonder if he feels he's done enough, Paul. Maybe he just needs to sit there behind his teammate and live to fight another day. Doesn't need to do anything silly. Has put on a dominant performance today.
Well, he's got a points lead. I think if he's going to make a charge, it'll be on the last lap. He's not going to stretch himself.
Well, a yellow flag is flying and the red comes out, and that's the flag we don't want to see. That's the first aid flag as well. So the Suzuki celebrate on the start line, but there is problems on the racetrack. The race has been declared, so they go back to the last fully finished lap, and Dennis Charlotte is declared the winner from Brian Bernard, Lance Lowe and Jason McEwen. We can tell you, though, Jason McEwen, it was...
And stay with us on